French no luxury.
Discover the all-new 251 DS Automobiles range at Hugo Luna Motors.
Experience pure driving pleasure with DS Automobiles, the French luxury car company.
DS's premium range stands out through its charismatic style, interior refinement, sophisticated technology and first-class comfort. Book your test drive today and discover the magic of DS Automobiles at hugolunamotors.ie.
Saturday View with Ronan Berry. With thanks to Lumcloon Energy, pioneering innovation, powering progress. lumcloonenergy.com. Call 0818 300 103. Text or WhatsApp your Saturday View to 083 3010 103.
Good morning and welcome to Saturday View. I'm not Ronan Berry, I'm Sinéad Hubble and I'm here with you until 11 this morning. Coming up today, one Midlands special school is facing a tough choice this September as 45 children are on their waiting list, but there's only 12 places available. Should tolls on a Midlands motorway for HGVs be reduced to €1 so that they're not passing through local towns? And former RTE newsreader Eileen Dunn was unleashed this week to hand over a family heirloom, and we'll hear a little bit more about that in a little while. But first, Sinn Féin's decision not to head to Washington for St Patrick's Day is being described as juvenile. Tipperary TD Matthew McGrath thinks it's very, very strange Mary Lou McDonald and Michelle O'Neill won't travel to the US. He believes it is the wrong decision and that they mightn't have even been invited.
We have over 300,000 to 20,000 FDI jobs here. Here in Clonmel alone we have 7,000 or 8,000. And these couldn't have our nose despite our face. We have to keep diplomatic channels open. And I was just wondering, would there be any, credence in this? Maybe they wouldn't be invited.
Now let's hear from Sinn Féin. Good morning to Senator Maria McCormack in Portlaoise.
Good morning, Sinead. How are we doing?
Good. Thanks very much for joining me on the programme this morning. So why has Mary Lou McDonald and Michelle O'Neill decided not to travel?
Yeah, so the decision not to attend the event in the White House this year, it was not a decision that was taken lightly, but sometimes the situation of such seriousness, you have to take a stand. And it's something that we're, as a party, we are at one with. Like the threat of mass expulsion of the Palestinian people from their homes and the permanent seizure of Palestinian land and the walking away from the two-state solution is such a grave escalation that it's the consequence. They cannot just stand by and attend this year.
But some critics would argue that engagement rather than boycott is a better strategy for influencing US policy.
Yeah, and we would have always, we fully believe in dialogue, engagement and negotiations are the only way to end conflict, and we will continue to engage. But the only way that you're going to end conflict and construct dialogue for negotiated settlement is on the basis of shared values and by abiding by international law. And at the moment, our shared values are not of that with Donald Trump, and the threats that he is imposing on Gaza, the mass expulsion of the Palestinian people, the dismantling of the two-state solution. It's so extreme at the moment that we just cannot stand by, and we cannot attend this event in the White House while this is happening. And if you think about it, like even the New York Times has come out and said it at the moment. So we need to be very clear, and there's sometimes political leaders need to take a stand, and this is one of those times.
And what do you make of Matthew McGrath's comments describing it as very, very strange and juvenile?
Well, to be honest, I don't think it will be to any surprise in America that we have been very clear in our views all along, and I think that this is categorically the right decision. Like, this isn't just about politics. This is about humanity here, and we have to be really sure that we're speaking about the Irish people, and this is indeed the widespread views of the people of Ireland when it comes to Palestine, and I don't think anyone is going to be surprised. Sinn Féin, of course, has a deep, long-standing relationship with the US over decades, and we know that these relationships were crucial to us during the peace process and the Good Friday Agreement. But right now, the situation in Gaza has got so much worse that we have to take a stand here, and this is a stand with the feedback that I'm getting from my constituents and from people all over the country of Ireland. They stand with the Palestinian people, and they want peace, and they're really happy that Mary Lou and Michelle O'Neill have taken this decision not to attend this ceremony this year.
And as you mentioned there, there's strong ties with the US. Do you think that this is going to impact on the relationships with the Irish-American community that Sinn Féin has built up over the years? And is this not a wider opportunity to meet people, to get the message across?
Well, look, it's really important that the An Taoiseach, Micheál Martin, does attend. He has an obligation to attend, and we're really hoping that he will use the opportunity to speak about the views of the Irish people. But for now, for us, this is the right thing to do, and I suppose we hope that our right to hold and express the view on behalf of a large selection of Irish people, that this will be respected. And it's not a snub, but this is an assertion of our principal stance. And we have been really clear here. And this view, I suppose it was discussed in detail, with party members, with people outside Sinn Féin, and with the wider public all over Ireland. This decision did not come lightly to Mary Lou or Michelle, but they found that this is what the Irish people want.
And while Mary Lou McDonald and Michelle O'Neill won't be travelling, will other members of the party head over to the US?
So Mary Lou and Michelle O'Neill have announced that they won't be attending any of these ceremonies, and I'm not sure if anyone else will attend if they get different invitations. Right now, I suppose it's the process of the invitation comes out, and we'll see if anybody accepts. But for now, we just know that our leaders will not be attending the Shamrock ceremony. But we will continue to engage. There is, different members of the Sinn Féin party that have ongoing relationships, when it comes to the economy and all the different businesses, and the trade between the US and Ireland is so important, and between Europe as well. We have to keep all those channels open. But this is just for St. Patrick's Day and the Shamrock ceremony. Mary Lou and Michelle will not be attending, and that's what this message is about.
What message will Sinn Féin be asking the Taoiseach and the ministers who are travelling to the US to bring over?
It's very clear that we need peace. Ireland has always been a country of peace, and the threat of mass expulsion of the Palestinian people from their homes and the permanent seizure of the Palestinian land, that he's walking away from the two-state solution. We want a two-state solution. We want the Palestinian people and the Israel to be able to live in their own countries in peace. A two-state solution, peace.
Laois Senator Maria McCormack, thanks very much for joining me on Saturday View this morning to explain why Sinn Féin will not be heading over to the US for St. Patrick's Day. Thank you very much.
That's great. Thanks, Sinead. Thank you. Bye-bye.
And if you want to have your say about Sinn Féin's decision for Mary Lou McDonald and Michelle O'Neill not to travel to the White House, you can get in touch with Nellie on 0818 300 103, or you can send a text or WhatsApp to 083 30 10 103.
Saturday View, with thanks to Lumcloon Energy, pioneering innovation, powering progress. LumcloonEnergy.com.
There was great excitement in a Laois community this week when a famous set of pipes were returned home. The pipes, which belonged to renowned piper Frank Dunn, were entrusted back to the people of Clonaslee by his granddaughter and former RTE newsreader Eileen Dunn. Frank, who was the father of RTE Gaelic Games commentator Mick Dunn, passed away in 1979. Alongside his history as a member of the Laois Brigade of the old IRA, he also taught and formed pipe bands in his hometown and in Mount Bolus, along with many more around the country. The Dunn family had the pipes restored a number of years ago and presented them back this week. Eileen says the pipes had been in the attic for almost 40 years.
Well, it's a big day for the Dunn family because those pipes were lying up in the attic in our house at home since 1979, since my grandfather died. And for years we were talking about doing something with them, getting them restored, hopefully passing them on or giving them in trust so that people could play them. Young people particularly was our idea. And a couple of years ago I met a second cousin of mine in town and I was telling him about them, and he said, well, we have another cousin, Michael O'Gorman, who would be really interested in all of this. So Joe put me in touch with Michael. We set up a WhatsApp group. Michael got Dave, who's here today, to play the pipes. He's the one who restored them and found out a bit of the history about them and dated them and all that kind of thing. So here we are. So it's kind of come full circle and we're all here.
Do you know much about the history of the pipes before this all kicked off?
Not really, no. Just that they were Grandad's pipes. They were always there. My mother would say that he played them at their wedding, at her wedding, which was in Portmarnock in 1956. They were at his funeral, they were on his coffin. You know, we would have been aware of them. But I didn't really know much about the history of them.
Does anybody in the family play the pipes?
No, not at all, that's why. But at the same time, we'll keep them, we'll keep our name on them in case I have a grandchild in the future who might like to play them, or my sister has a grandchild in the future who might like to play them. But no, that's why. We wanted to see them used, so that's why we wanted to bring them back here.
And have you ever attempted to play them yourself?
Oh my God, no. I wouldn't know where to start. Absolutely not.
Mick O'Gorman is a second cousin of Eileen Dunn, and he says he knew very little about the pipes, but he had always wanted to see them.
Just that they were there. I've been interested in traditional music going back over the years and do a bit of singing. So the music was always in the back of my head. So the idea that a grand-uncle... My grandfather actually played pipes here in Clonaslee as well, in the Clonaslee Pipe Band. And Frank... Just the fact that the pipes were there and they were part and parcel of the musical history of this family, that was my fascination with them. And as I say, I just wanted to see them. I just wanted to touch them and part of the heritage. But as I say, one thing borrowed another, and Dave breathed new life into them, and they'll be continued to be played from here on out.
David Rickard, who's a piper, was the man who was given the job of restoring the pipes, and he says that they needed a lot of work.
They're pretty bad. The bag was an original sheepskin bag, which had dried out completely, and you can't rejuvenate a bag that's dried out over 30, 40 years. So the only thing to do was to take the bag, strip the bag off, and clean out. With sheepskin bags, they had to use a thing called dressing, which sealed the inside of the bag and prevented air leaks. But in the process of dressing a bag, the dressing would sometimes accumulate at the bottom of the stocks, which are what the drones stick into. And anyway, you have to clean them off. You can't, they were filthy looking. So they were all, I cleaned them up and all, and I got a new bag, a modern bag. It's a synthetic bag with a zip in it. You can, if the reed falls into the bag, you can put your hand in, open the zip, put your hand in, take the reed out and reinsert it. And I had to make the chanter reed for the chanter, because the chanter is... it's the 1930s, I think. Ty Crowley from Cork made it. And it's a much, much lower pitch than the modern pitch now. This chanter, this set of pipes as it is now, would not be able to play with the modern pipes as it stands. It wouldn't sound in tune. It would sound horrible, actually, with other pipes. But on its own, it's in tune. So it was a struggle to get the reed, because I'm not a commercial reed maker. I don't, so I'm interested in reeds. You have to be if you're a piper. You have to learn how to manipulate them. And one of the ways you manipulate it is with sticking sticky tape or electrician tape over the holes. What you do with the chanter is that you set the reed so it's too sharp, and you put tape over the holes to correct the pitch, or to get the intonation correct. And it's pretty involved, it's a lot of blowing and listening and anyway, it's all compromise anyway. So I hope people aren't disappointed when they hear these things, they're going to the best of my ability anyway, and I was pleased enough with the sound. They're certainly good quality. It's a good quality instrument, and can be made to suit the modern day chanters or pipes with just different reeds in. They're shorter reeds and a different pipe chanter, and it would play with any pipe, But it was great. It was enjoyable. It was a struggle, but it was an enjoyable struggle when you got something at the end of it. If you saw what goes into making bagpipes, the actual wood turning and all, it's a craft. It's a dying craft. A lot of it's done now by remote control machinery, But there's still some craftsmen in Scotland and some in Ireland, certainly uilleann pipe makers here, who are fabulous.
And congratulations to John Cusack and all the members of the St. Patrick's Day Committee in Clonaslee for a very successful event on Sunday. I know it was a very special moment for Eileen Dunn and the rest of her family when they saw her grandfather's pipes being played on the bridge once again. Jackie has been in touch this morning. She wants to let Maria McCormack, the Laois Senator, know that not all of them are supporting Sinn Féin's views. If you want to have your view aired this morning, you can get in touch by sending a text or WhatsApp to 083 30 10 103. Now, would you like to cut your bills, get great ideas and beat the February blues? Well, the Midlands 103 Green Home and Energy Show returns to the Tullamore Court tomorrow with TV architect Hugh Wallace. Mr. Fix-It will be there and he will be live, and I'm sure Will Faulkner will have plenty of abuse to fire at him. There'll also be the finest home improvement suppliers in Ireland. Entry is free, and everyone through the door could win a luxury overnight escape, a brand new smart TV and cash discounts from lots of the exhibitors. That's this Sunday, tomorrow, at the Tullamore Court, and you can find out more on midlands103.com. Up next, a Midlands Special School is looking for extra classrooms as they have 45 children on their waiting list for this September, but only 12 places available.
Introducing the all-new 251 electric range at Hugo Luna Motors.
CR Peugeot E2008, now available in electric.
This bold SUV boasts a striking design with sleek LED headlamps and a redesigned grille for a powerful presence.
With zero CO2 emissions and 156 HP of power, the E2008 delivers efficiency and performance.
Discover more at hugolunamotors.ie. Drive the future today.
Saturday View, with thanks to Lumcloon Energy, pioneering innovation, powering progress. lumcloonenergy.com.
There are 45 children trying to get into a Laois Special School this September, but there's only 12 places available. Independent TD in Laois, Brian Stanley, raised the need for additional classrooms at St. Francis Special School in Portlaoise this week in the Dáil. Good morning, Brian, and thanks very much for taking the time to chat to us on Saturday View this morning. Brian, what response did you get from the Education Minister, Helen McEntee, when you raised this?
Good morning, Sinead, and good morning to your listeners. Well, I've raised this with Helen McEntee for the very reason she's new Minister for Education, and this problem has been going on for some time. We have a situation with St. Francis School, open just a couple of years now, a brand new school, lovely building, but unfortunately the date it was built and the date it was opened, it's just too small. There are 17 classes in a 12 classroom school. The principal, the staff and the management have been endeavouring to try and get extra accommodation. And what I want Helen McEntee to do is to, first of all, to try and fast forward the approval, the classrooms that are approved for it. There are 4 classrooms approved currently at planning stage with Laois County Council. Now we have to wait the outcome of that. But meanwhile as well, that's going to take some time for to have them built. And the immediate problem, the very immediate problem, is the number of children who need a space there. As you correctly said, there are only 12 children, according to the staff, that are due to exit this year. The problem then is that what happens, already, you have a situation that isn't ideal, where there's 17 classes in a 12 classroom school. And, your listeners will appreciate that with children with special needs and very complex needs in this case, it's not, you can't put 25 of them into a classroom. They have to be done in very small groups, and some of them may even require a lot of one-to-one. So, it's really important that this happens. So what Helen McEntee has, she has committed, obviously, to taking up with her officials to see what can be done. But what I want her specifically to do, on which there's been no commitment on so far, is to provide 2 modular classrooms in the interim, while we're waiting for the new building of the 4 new classrooms has been approved. And very welcome. I welcome the fact that the department and the government have signed off on that. But that can take a few years to do that. And in any case, even with the 4 classrooms, it's really 6 classrooms that are needed. Given the population growth in County Laois, because we have to remember that the children who are going to St. Francis aren't just from the Portlaoise area. In fact, most of the children are from outside of Portlaoise. They're from all over the county: Mountmellick, Port Arlington, Rathdowney, Borrisnostre, Montrat, all of the areas around the county. So, it's taken in a wide catchment area, and we've seen population going from just over 50,000 to now 90,000 in the county. So over 90,000. So that's going to keep, all the projections that's going to keep increasing. There will be more children with special needs, and we need space.
Brian, why are we not planning ahead for these things? As you said, St. Francis School, the day it opened, it didn't have enough capacity. There's going to be a proposal for 4 new classrooms. But by the time they go through planning, actually get built, will we be behind again and in the same situation where we see children needing a space in classroom and it not there?
Well, look, there's always competition for resources, and I understand that, right? But what I would say is to you that we have to get the basics right. And I mean, education and health and housing, they're kind of the big ones, employment, and obviously education is really, really important. And if children don't get, particularly children with special and complex needs, if they don't get the correct education and interventions at that stage in their life, and obviously, it really reduces their chances of, being able to move on and live a full life afterwards. And there's a very committed staff in St. Francis School. By all accounts, the feedback is always very good from parents and in the local communities around the county. People will always, speak very highly of St. Francis School. So, it's that competition for resources. And look, it started off in a hall, right, in Democrat Hall years ago. Then it got its own, prefabricated type building on the Well Road there, off the Timahoe Road, and now has this new building. And it took a long time to get to that. And I welcome the fact that it's up on the Burris Road now in that new building, and all the parents from around County Laois that have children going to it, and the grannies and the granddads and the aunts and uncles would even talk to you about it when you're out around, how important it is. But it's just a fact of life that that school wasn't planned as being big enough for what it's going to cater for. And I can't answer that question for you, but what I am saying is there needs to be greater coordination between the National Council for Special Education and the department, the building section of the Department of Education. There's some obviously breakdown there. Is it a shortage of money? It shouldn't be a shortage of money, not from what we're being told. The coffers are supposed to be fairly full over the last couple of years. People may raise legitimate issues about how it's being spent or how some of it was misspent, and I would be one of them. But money invested in schools isn't wasted. This is good investment for the future. And I think that what I would say to you, Sinead, about it is that, that there's the opportunity now to fix this. There's the space on site. There will be questions about, where do you put the modular classrooms. I've been there with the principal. I've looked at this. The management of the school are clear about it. The space is there to put into 2 modular classrooms, and it won't cost. It won't break the state to do it. There's an urgent need for this for September. I don't have answers for parents. A lot of that 40. There's a good few parents out of that 45 that come to me.
What are you hearing from the parents? What are they saying to you?
Well, they're basically appealing for something to be done because they don't have an answer for their children have been assessed as being appropriate for St. Francis School. It's judged to be the best place for them. It's what's there. That's where they need to go to meet the particular needs that they have. And they're caught between a rock and a hard place. And all I can do is that to say to the Taoiseach, to say to Helen McEntee, the Minister for Education, to do everything they can here. It needs government to intervene with the department, with senior officials in the department. I've been engaging with the department, the building section on St. Francis School for a long period of time, including when the project was going on to move up to the new building on the Burris Road. But, we're at a stage now, a couple of years into it. We need this extra space. The parents from throughout the County Laois and their children, they need it. And, government have to make an intervention here. This is not something they can sit on their hands with. They have to move on this.
People will be frustrated because we do hear about €7 million being wasted with the Arts Council. We've heard about RTE in the past. And as former chair of the Public Accounts Committee, I'm sure you dealt with a lot of issues that rose to money being wasted by the government over the last number of years.
Well, that's the frustrating thing. And I mean, what I would say to you as well is that the building at St. Francis School, it's an excellent building, and as it worked out well, there was no major. There were 1 or 2 problems did arise, but look, none of them are major. Good quality building, high energy spec. It ticks all the boxes. So the money hasn't been wasted there. And you're correct. This is the frustrating thing, that we have to get. And I keep going back to this thing. We have to get the basics right. What's our priorities here in terms of our needs for our local communities around counties like Laois? But that's one thing we have to look at. But also in terms of spending money, we also have to get back to basics. How money is spent, what is prioritised for, how contracts are divvied out, and I could go on all day about that. I mean, there's an office of government procurement, which is part of the Department of Public Expenditure and Reform, which was established specifically just over 10 years ago to ensure that money is spent well. And it's clear that there's been, with the Office of Government Procurement, some of the examples of which have been highlighted on your own radio station. The Arts Council is one that you just mentioned, their computer system. And I could ream off a list of them, from the Children's Hospital to the bike shed and everything else in between, where money has, where they've gone way over budget with projects. But here we have projects. These school projects work well, money well spent, and the department. And in fairness, I want to give the Department of Education, the building section of it, which is based actually in Tullamore, credit for, for some of the new buildings that we have, the new schools that we have here in the county. We have to acknowledge that. Problem is, we have an immediate issue here with space that we need to fix. And the only way I can see out of it for September is that an interim solution and good quality modular buildings that will be there for years, that can be used for extra space there, which is really needed in the school, is to provide 2 classrooms for the management and the pupils. But that's what it comes down to here, Sinead. There isn't any other way around it.
Laois Independent TD Brian Stanley, thank you very much for joining me on Saturday View, raising the issue about the need for extra capacity at St. Francis School in Portlaoise. If you are one of the parents who is being affected by this, you can get in touch with us here at Midlands 103 by sending an email to studio@midlands103.com, or you can give Nellie a call on 0818 300 103. Still to come this morning, should tolls on the M7 in Laois be reduced to €1 for HGVs to ensure that they're avoiding towns like Abbeyleix and Mount Rath? We'll discuss that next. Now let's turn our attention to motorways and HGVs. And we're asking the question today, should Midlands motorways, the price for HGV to travel on them be reduced to €1 so that they're not passing through local towns to avoid the tolls? Well, Laois County Council is being asked to contact the relevant bodies to look for a reduction due to a high number of lorries passing through Abbeyleix and Mount Rath. Fine Gael councillor Paddy Buggy is the man behind the proposal. Good morning, Paddy.
Good morning, Sinead. How are you?
Good, and thank you very much for joining us on the programme today. So why are you bringing this motion forward at the next County Council meeting on Monday?
Okay. Well, the reason I'm bringing it forward is we have two towns, well actually there's three towns in Montmellic scourged by heavy goods vehicles going through them, but that's not the problem of the heavy goods vehicles, in fairness. I'll focus on Abbeyleix and Mount Rath for a minute first. In a study taken place in 2022, it was established that over 800 vehicles a day went through Abbeyleix, and it was established that 15% of those didn't need to go. They were avoiding tolls on the motorway. And if you calculate that out over a year, that's about 20 to 25,000 heavy good vehicle journeys going through Abbeyleix. They don't need to go through. But obviously it is more cost effective for those vehicles to go through the likes of Abbeyleix or Mount Rath and pay the tolls. Now, the tolls, I'll be the first to admit, asking for €1 is a little bit ridiculous because it really is on the low side, and I'll be the first to admit that. But equally, charging lorries €7.40 is ridiculously high. And when you add up the number of journeys that these vehicles make during the year, that's a hell of a lot of money for transport companies to come up with. We have to remember too that during COVID, there was a lot of great people put themselves on the line to support the rest of us, and the lorry drivers and the transport companies were a key element of our survival during COVID. They were the ones that brought in the food, they were the ones that brought the medicines, they were the ones that brought what was required, whether it was nappies or whether it was blankets or whatever the case may be. And we were damned glad that they were willing to do that under severe conditions of a virus like COVID-19. But we have to look at our towns and trying to develop our towns locally. If you take Mount Rath, there's a town team in place in Mount Rath, and they're doing excellent work to try and rejuvenate the town. But unless we can get people coming to towns to stop and shop and to take part in life in the towns, that'll never happen. And having excess, listen, we do need 80% of the heavy goods vehicles that go through the towns are needed because they're either dropping off goods in those towns or they're going to their ultimate destinations, which you can't get to off the motorway. You have to go through these towns to get to. So no problem with that at all. But for that 15 or 20% that's going through, it is causing problems both to the infrastructure of the towns in that you have the wear and tear going through the towns, the vibrations on the old buildings, because they're both old towns, heritage towns really when you think about it. And we need to look at it from a point of view that the cost of living in this country is quite high. Part of that is due to the costs associated with getting goods and services moved around. And part of that is due to the tolls on the motorways. Now, I know those motorways were developed by public-private partnerships. And I know private companies invested in those companies, and they have to get their investment back, and they have to make a certain level of profit in order to maintain those motorways and to ensure that they are in good condition. However, there was also the public element of it, and all of us taxpayers also contributed to those motorways. And we have to see the benefit because those motorways were built to try and to reduce congestion in our towns.
And what do you think would be? What do you think would be a fair price then for lorries on the tolls, on the toll roads?
Well, I mean, if we were to cut it in half from where it is, it would be fair. And it is, and let's face it, if you take say Abbeyleix with say 20,000 a year heavy goods vehicles journeys going through, you multiply that out, that's a loss to the companies, and it would more than make up for, well, it mightn't make up fully, but it would make up a lot of the difference in reducing the price, and it would also encourage more heavy goods vehicles to use it. But importantly too, it will ensure that our transport companies can stay profitable and stay in business, because the last thing we need is for transport companies to go out of business because they just can't afford all the hits that are getting between oil prices, tolls, all of that And we need to look after our transport mechanism here, because we no longer have the rail network that was there 50 years ago. So we are very dependent on lorries to move goods and services around for us. And by making it more easy for people to do that, making it more cost effective, we all win in the end. Plus, we don't have damage done to our towns like Abbeyleix, which is a heritage town, and Mountreat, who are trying to develop and rebuild their towns to the greatness it was many years ago. And so from that point of view, we have to look at all our costs overall as a country. But as a public representative, when you think of the public and the private element of it, it seems that the private is getting the full say in what the costs are. The public side of it, who also put money into investing in these motorways, seem to have no voice at all. And I'm just raising the voice on behalf of the people that we have to look at being fair in this country. Our costs are they're out of control really when you think about it. And we have to start asking questions. Why are these costs so high? And we need to start looking at how can we make ourselves more competitive and have a better quality life in this country. And it's from that point of view I'm raising it. Listen, I know I said €1. That's ridiculous. I accept that. And I'll be the first to put my hand up to say that. But at the 740, it's far too high. And the costs are...
But you're looking at that as a starting point to go into negotiations with.
Negotiate somewhere. If I was offering you to buy a car now, sure, would I give you the full price when you asked for it?
I doubt it, Paddy. But thank you very much for joining me on Saturday View this morning, and keep us updated on how your motion goes and the level of support that you get on Monday. Thanks very much. That's Fine Gael councillor Paddy Buggy there in Laois, who's asking for a reduction on for HGVs on toll roads so that they're avoiding local towns. That's all we have time for on Saturday View this week. Have a good day. Goodbye.
Saturday View, with thanks to Lumcloon Energy, pioneering innovation, powering progress. LumcloonEnergy.com. Midlands 103.